Hello, this is not Randall Sanford, it is his clone. I will present the findings of my case study on Disney. The thesis of this paper is that the successful turnaround of Disney animation resulted from changes in how teams were organized and physically situated, as well as how innovation was deliberately dispersed throughout the organization. Allow me to give you a brief history of Disney animation. The Golden Era began at its founding and continued until 1942. It was characterized by the production of such classics as Snow White and Fantasia. The wartime era was a tough time for Disney, as most of their production went to the war effort, and employees were hard to find. The Silver Era, 1950 to 1967, saw the introduction of folk tales for all ages, and is known for such classics as Peter Pan and The Jungle Book. Budgets were enlarged and new styles of animation introduced. Unfortunately, this was followed by the Bronze Era after Walt's passing in 1966. Without his visionary leadership, Disney's animation department struggled. The years 1989 to 1999 was a renaissance time for Disney. It is remembered for The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and Lion King. A new kind of animation was introduced, and their films were a commercial success. As was the pattern, this was followed by a time of greater difficulty. Most of their films were poorly received, and their experiments with various forms of animation were unsuccessful. The final era, the one this presentation is most concerned with, is from 2010 to the present, known as the Revival Era, when Ed Catmull and John Lasseter joined Disney. The results were dramatic. To solve issues around technology, pipeline, and resource allocation, the top organizational chart was replaced by the one below. This allowed for more interaction and cross-pollination of ideas and innovations since staff members belonged to more than one working group. The group was given more autonomy, which expedited decision-making and fostered innovation. Team leads were now chosen based on their vision and technical know-how, and they spent 80% of the time doing the work and only 20% on administering the group. Teams were moved to sit together to encourage collaboration through informal brainstorming sessions. Information was set free, and groups were encouraged to inform other teams about their work and progress. The leadership, Geibel and Johnson, believed all work should be accessible to any team member at any time. As was the custom at Pixar, film projects underway were regularly reviewed, and great candor and a lack of defensiveness. Box office receipts had been stuck at under $500,000 for many years. With these changes, they went up to $1.1 billion by 2013. Disney had not won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, which was created in 2001. Over the next 8 years, they won 4 times. Changing the team structure allowed technical, artistic, and production staff to solve problems in real time. Were there challenges? Yes. Of course, there always are. Some were concerned that this system might create new silos, although having people on more than one team made this unlikely. There were personality conflicts, and people had to be moved. Some were uncomfortable with the new transparency, and leaders had to agree that disregarding titles may have been a foolish decision. Ultimately, as our thesis statement suggested, these were reasonable and necessary changes that benefited Disney in many ways. Would this team structure work in the organization I work for? Free on the outside operates 20 sober living homes for over 200 residents. However, we only 7 employees, several of which are part-time, so this structure would probably not work. However, the concepts of free-flowing information, radical candor, and greater team autonomy could really help us as an organization. The Bible in Matthew 13:3 gives us an idea as to why the seed of ideas, and even of innovations, often does not bear fruit in the long run. The enemies of fruitful, innovative change, whether it is the gospel or an idea for a new kind of animation, are stifled by a lack of openness to new ideas, the ugly baby problem, failure to let an innovation mature, or distractions that prevent sustained development. A team that encourages innovation, gives it a chance to grow, and doesn't forget about what it has to offer, is a team that will cause a company to thrive. It is also how disciple makers will cause other Christians to grow. I appreciate the honor of your time, and thank you so much for listening.